Hello and welcome to another educational video from REI Funding Partners. Ray Burkhalter here, and out of all of the videos that I have made on the topic of business and finance, this one is easily the most important. I want to make sure that you hear that at the beginning of this because I want this video to spark conversations between business partners. I want it to spark conversations between husbands and wives, between parents and children, about the financial principles that you'll hear in this video. This is not me or my genius. This comes through the very good blessing that I had to have wise financial mentors in my life. And these are some lessons that need to be passed on for people to understand what it takes for the creation of generational wealth. And let's face it, if you're going to work hard, if you're going to do wise financial things in your life, why not have that create generational wealth? And by generational wealth, I'm not necessarily saying you become Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or people of that magnitude, but having finances that you can pass down to your children and they teach them and pass them down to their children is so important. Especially in a culture where finances are sometimes not talked about. So today, the topic on the screen is 27% return always good? And the answer, it depends, will go through the financial principles that I'm talking about and the financial key pieces that you need to know and that you need to be talking about with those important people in your life. So let's jump in. And you'll see the question repeated at the top of each page because I want the discussion on each page to come through that filter. Is 27% return always good? So to know the answer to that question, these topics need to be considered. Things like volatile and stable assets, things like growth and income assets, other items like year-over-year returns, year-to-year fees, and then the topic of perpetual income for generational wealth. All right, so first up is this topic of volatile and stable assets. So 27% could be a good return if we get to keep it. Not so good if we don't get to keep it. So understanding that needs to have a base in understanding volatile and stable assets. So these definitions are pretty basic, but still powerful. So a volatile asset is one whose price fluctuates significantly over time, up or down. Stable asset is, on the other hand, one that does not fluctuate in price significantly up or down over time. So with that, under volatile, you can think of things like cryptocurrency, things like gold. Many stocks are volatile. On the stable asset side, there are many bonds that are stable. Real estate in general, not all, definitely not all cases, but in general, as an asset class, real estate is generally stable. So understanding volatile and stable assets is very, very important. Next, understanding income and growth assets when we're thinking of 27% return. So growth assets are ones that we purchase to be held over time for the purpose of increased value. You buy something, you hold it for a year, 5 years, 10 years, and you buy it strategically, thinking and doing your research for the point of it growing over time. Income assets are ones, however, that are purchased for the reason of providing an income stream to the owner. So it's important to know and understand both of these asset types because they are a key piece of building the generational wealth that we're talking about. And next, when we're considering if 27% return is always good, year-over-year returns. So many people there are two sides of this coin. There are some people that will check on their returns and their account balance daily. Those kind of people can drive themselves crazy sometimes looking at, especially if their assets are all volatile and they're looking every day, seeing the number go up and down and up and down. that's one end of the spectrum. But then on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes people only look at the end of the year, and they may just look at 1 year and not really do a year-to-year comparison. So in this case, when we're saying check your statements to see how the numbers stack up, it's to point out things like this that we see here below. And these numbers here, they're actual real numbers from a real financial statement. So this is not pie in the sky. This is not guesswork. These are real numbers. In 2022, in this example, on these statements, there was a growth in that part of the portfolio of 27%. That was great. End of the year, it looks great on your statements. You're talking to your friends and family about you just got 27% returns last year. Then a year like 2023 rolls around, and with these two being back to back, it's very significant, very interesting. That year led in the same portfolio to a loss of 27%. So that was bad. That definitely not good. So in that case, when you put those 2 years back to back, you get 2 years of lost growth, because now you're going into year 3 and you're the same place you were 3 years prior. No growth whatsoever over that time. And if you had income assets in your portfolio, they would not have generated any income over that period of time. So let's look at some actual number examples here. If an account like this had about 500,000 and that account had been growing at 9%, but it didn't for those 2 years, then that's 45,000 per year loss. So over a 2-year span, that's $90,000 that was lost, either $90,000 of growth or $90,000 of income. As you can see, 27% return is not always good if you have to give it back the next year and you end up losing out on all of that growth or all of that income. On top of that, when you think is 27% return always good, you have to understand that fees matter. So the same example as the previous slide, this account that fluctuated by 27% up and then down over a 2-year span, that account had an annual fee for management of 1.25%, and that's a pretty common number. Some management fees could be higher, definitely. Some could be lower. But if we had that same $500,000 balance in the example before, that's an expense of $6,250 every year. So if you have years of zero gain, or you actually have a loss, but if you have the zero gain like the 2 years prior, that fee still gets deducted from your account. So even in years that are not going well, if you get a zero or if you end up with a negative on your account balance, you still get that fee deducted. So fees have to factor into that question. Is a 27% return always good? Ooh, this is a huge one here. The save, invest, and hope method. Just recently, I saw a YouTube video that had over 35,000 views, and it hadn't been posted that long. And the financial expert that was teaching on that video, they were still teaching the model of save up, invest for growth, and hope that you don't outlive your nest egg in retirement. I'd be willing to bet that financial professional that's teaching that had no idea that there's another way. I bet that financial person is not someone that has generational wealth going on in their family, because if so, they would know, and they would be teaching the point on the bottom here, what families with generational wealth know. They know that to save, invest, and buy stable income assets is the way to provide perpetual income for yourself and for future generations in your family to come. Very, very powerful. So when considering is 27% return always good, and knowing that that possibility is out there to create generational wealth, income assets are key in that discussion. So with that, I'm not saying that growth assets don't play a part. As you can see in step one here, saving and buying growth assets is a must. That must happen during this building up period of your portfolio. Saving money, meaning spending less than you earn and intentionally putting aside some of your earned income towards buying growth assets. Then if you have income generating assets in the portfolio, using that income to buy more growth assets is very important. You want to get compounding happening. You want this to happen over a period of time and really build up what your portfolio value is. But when you have surpassed your minimum critical balance in that portfolio and you want to begin getting additional ongoing income, then that's time to begin using the power of income assets and have more of those in the portfolio. When you use those income assets strategically and you resolve to never spend anything other than the income generated, you have then designed a perpetual and generational income system that you can pass along. No more of this save and build up and then just whittle away and spend your portfolio that you've worked so hard to build, and you use it by selling off pieces of it to get cash. You don't have to do it that way. Income assets are the key to having the income that you need and having it ongoing. It's a beautiful thing. Next. All right. Is 27% return always good? Well, we just filtered that through the discussion of having income assets. So what are some of them? I'm going to talk about a couple here, but there's another video that I will link to this one that talks in more detail and discusses some different income assets here. I'll just discuss a few. One that's not so commonly known, but our favorite here at REI Funding Partners, and for a lot of people that are our co-lenders, private lending. When that's done correctly, it can be stable and it can be conservative and definitely getting predictable monthly income from that. Rental properties. I also love real estate, and so rental property, if you're not managing it, can provide that steady monthly cash flow from an income asset. And the nice thing is, if you buy good rental properties in good areas, then those should appreciate as well. So you'll have not only an income asset, but a growth asset there. Nice combination. Dividend paying stocks. These can be income and growth assets as well. There's a category out there called Dividend Aristocrat. And some of those stocks have been around for more than a quarter century, paying out dividends. So from the research I've done, it's not easy to get those that pay out over 3 or 4%, but definitely those are out there and easily purchased. And then bonds are another common income asset. If you get a coupon bond, those in recent research here in 2024 that I've seen are paying somewhere between 2.5% and 4.5% on the bonds. So that's some different kind of income assets, and those are ones that you could think about. Again, have discussions about any of those a better fit for you than others. How can you begin to strategically include income assets in your portfolio, and how can you strategically have a plan for reaching that critical level in your portfolio, that value, so that you can begin living off of and spending, having spending money from the perpetual income that these assets can generate for you. So this video is not meant to go super detailed into any of these topics. Again, it's a high level. Let's look at some important things and let's get some important conversations going. Throughout here, I would be glad to see comments and questions that you post. Again, I want to stir up conversation. So it can be conversations here. It could also be, if you wanted to have a conversation by email, would be glad to communicate that way as well. It's just an important conversation to have, an important conversation to keep going. Is 27% return always good? It really depends on all of the factors that we discussed in today's video. I hope you found this intriguing. I hope it does stir questions and conversations with the important people in your life. I hope you get into some strategic thinking and that you create the generational wealth that is definitely possible when you use wise financial principles. That's it for this time. Until next time, take care and God bless.